Why, hello there, friends. Welcome to the last full week of Perkins at Home. So, for our last week in music, this week we're going to do some read alouds, review some of the websites that I've had you exploring for making music and composing and learning about music. And we'll do some singing later in the week, too. Also, something to look forward to is I have finished. The virtual choir videos, and they came out excellent, better than I imagined they were going to. So stay tuned for that next week. They will be premiering during the last day of school event. So to get started this week, some of us have already done some listening and drawing activities to the Carnival of the Animals, and I thought it would be a good time to check back in with that. So some of you have already been learning a little bit about the Carnival of the Animals. It's a famous piece of music. And some of you, this might be your first time hearing about this. So I'm going to do a little bit of a read aloud from here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read about 3 different animals. So this is a big piece of music, and each piece is themed based off of a different animal. The music represents that animal. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the read alouds first. Then I'll be putting links to the songs below. And what I want you to do for that is listen through my whole read aloud. I'll do a little introduction and then read about our 3 animals for today. And then once you're done, kind of think about what we read in the book and listen through the song and see if you can hear those parts come to life throughout the music. See if you can hear the instruments represent the sounds of the animals. Pay attention to the rhythm and the melody and think about how that might have an impact on representing a different animal. Looking at this, what would you do to represent, say, a turtle or a tortoise? What could you do musically that could help you represent a tortoise? How about for birds way up here? What could you do? Could you pick out special instruments for the birds that would represent their sound? What rhythmically could you do that would make the turtle sound different than the birds? How about think about on your own? Think about what you would do for a elephant. What musical ideas would you use if you were going to write a piece of music about an elephant? Or maybe think about some sounds that these fish down here would make. Or all of these animals. So before you even listen to the music, think about what ideas you might already be coming up with to represent these animals. All right. In just a moment, I'll start the read aloud, but I want to finish my instructions. So I'm going to do the read aloud. There will be links to the songs below. I want you to, as you're listening through the songs, I want you to think about what we read in the story. Think if you're hearing any of that come to life. Each of the songs are pretty short, so you'll probably get a chance to listen to them several times. The first time, just listen and see if you can hear what the composer. See if you can hear his ideas in the song. The second listen through, I want you to get out some art supplies and I want you to draw a scene that would match this animal. You might need to listen to the song a couple times through to really put a lot of detail and thought into your drawings. So first time through, just listening to see if you hear the sounds. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th time through, those can all be for drawing. Okay, so we're going to be reading about 3 animals today. The animals we'll read about today are the tortoises. It's called the aquarium, but that's the underwater scene, so there's going to be some fish involved there. And then we'll be reading about donkeys as well. Okay, so donkeys, turtles, and fish. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to do the introduction of this book, and then I'll skip forward to the turtle section. Okay, and as always when I do read alouds, I might need to hold it back like this, but I will make sure to get it nice and close so that you can see. And I know it's a little shiny, glary almost, But when I'm in the pages, I don't think that'll be as bad. So I will do my best to make sure everyone can see the pictures, because that's pretty important too. These pictures might help you get an idea of how to start your own drawing, okay? So things you'll need are some good listening ears and some art supplies. So if you want to pause and go get that stuff ready now, that would be a good idea. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and get started now. All right, here we go. Carnival of the Animals. Cézanne's Carnival. So the composer's name, he's a French composer. Well, we're going to read all about this. His name is Camille Cézanne. Cézanne. This is how you spell that as well. All right. Camille Cézanne is a famous French composer who was born about 150 years ago. Although Cézanne was a very serious composer, he also liked a good joke. That's why, when his pupils at a music school asked him to write a musical joke for them, he wrote The Carnival of the Animals. People enjoyed this joke so much that it has now become one of his most famous pieces of music. Here are the animals you will meet. Can you see any unusual ones? All of the animals in this picture. We're not going to read every single page because that would take a really kind of a long time. But if you want, I really encourage you to listen to this whole piece and listen to every single animals section. All right, so those are all the animals that are in the whole thing. Orchestra for the carnival. Cézanne very carefully selected the instruments to play his musical carnival. He wanted each of the animals to have its own special music. Here is the orchestra he chose, playing the Carnival of the Animals. The musicians are dressed up for the concert. The players sit in a half circle so that they can all see the conductor. The conductor is in charge of the orchestra. He waves his baton to make sure that everyone plays in time. He tells the musicians when it's their turn to play for one of the animals and how loudly or softly they should play. So before I say the names of these instruments, which ones do you recognize? I bet a lot of you will recognize many of these instruments. So we have glockenspiel, which is like a xylophone just made out of metal. Xylophone, piano, so there's two pianos, clarinet, flute, piccolo, violins, viola, which is like a violin, just a little bigger, cello, and the double bass. And can you see the conductor? And remember, the conductor uses that baton so that everyone can see the same rhythm and play on the same beat. All right, going on. String instruments. The violin, viola, cello, and double bass are all members of the string family of instruments. The string family is the most important group of instruments in the Carnival Orchestra. Each member of the string family is made of wood and has 4 strings. String instruments are played with a bow. The sounds are made when the bow is pulled across a string or when the players pluck the strings with their fingers. The violin is the smallest string instrument, and it makes the highest sound. Listen for the violins playing the clucking hens and the braying donkeys. So listen for those. We'll be hearing it in the donkey one today. The viola looks like a big violin and has a deeper sound. It plays the tune of the fish in the aquarium. So listen for the viola in the aquarium. The cello is much bigger than the violin and the viola and makes an even deeper sound. Listen to the beautiful tune it plays for the swan. Well, even though we're not going to be reading about the swan, you could look that up if you want to and really listen for the cello and the swan. The double bass is the biggest string instrument of all. It makes the deepest sound of all the strings. It plays a funny dance for the elephant. And again, even though we are not going to read and listen to the elephant as part of this lesson, you can feel free to listen to the elephant. Listen for the double bass on the elephant, all right? Going forward, woodwind instruments. Cézanne chose 3 members of the woodwind family of instruments to play in his carnival. The instruments in this family are played by blowing into them, and they all have a row of holes on the top. The players make different notes by covering the holes with their fingers. Woodwind instruments are not always made of wood. Some instruments, like the piccolo and flute, are usually made of metal, sometimes even silver or gold. Others, like the clarinet, are made of both wood and metal. The clarinet can play loud and noisy music as well as quiet, gentle music. Listen for it playing the noisy call of the rooster as well as the gentle song of the cuckoo in the woods. So even though we're not going to be listening to these as part of our read aloud, please go listen to them if you want. All right. We'll still hear some of these instruments, but we won't be focusing a lesson on them. Okay. Going up here, this is one that we will really hear. Let's see, are we doing this? No, birds will happen on Friday, but we can still do this part of the read aloud. The flute is one of the highest of the woodwind instruments. It plays the fast fluttering tune of the birds. So when we get to the birds on Friday, that's when you really will hear the flute. All right. The piccolo is the smallest woodwind instrument. It plays even higher than the flute. The piccolo plays at the end of the music when all the animals gather together for the big carnival parade. Good, so those are all the woodwind instruments. And the last section, before we jump into the animals, we're going to talk about xylophone, glockenspiel, and piano. Cezanne was a pianist, and it's not surprising that he gave the pianos a very busy part in the carnival. The piano, glockenspiel, and xylophone are all members of the important percussion family. Instruments in this family are tapped or struck to make their sound. Inside the piano, tiny wooden hammers strike the strings when a key is pressed. The wooden notes of the xylophone and metal notes of the smaller glockenspiel are played with long beaters. The xylophone makes a very rattly sound. It plays the part of the fossils. So we'll be doing the fossils on Friday, so you'll really hear that one. All right, the glockenspiel. Sorry, let me say that again. Glockenspiel. Say it with me this time. Ready? The glockenspiel is like a small xylophone, but is made of metal. Its tinkly sound is the sunlight on the water in the aquarium. So that is one that we will hear today. So listen for that kind of tinkly, sparkly sound in the aquarium song. And the last instrument before we get into the animals is the piano. The piano can play the highest and lowest notes of all the instruments in the carnival orchestra. Listen as the pianos play the mad rushing music of the mule race. So we'll be hearing that, the donkey race, the bouncy kangaroo music, and the music for the noisiest animals of all, beginner pianists. So we'll be hearing the pianist section on Friday. All right, friends, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump forward to the tortoise section. I'm going to read this through, and once I finish, I want you to pause the video, go down below, and listen along to the tortoise. Okay? Once you've listened, then you can go ahead and do some artwork based off of the tortoises. All right? So here we go. I'll read through, then I will ask you to pause again. Just going to move my bookmark here. Okay, so here we go. Tortoises. How slowly the tortoises move. Step, step, step. Their tune is played by the string instruments. It's a dance tune, but it's a very slow and plodding. Could you dance as slowly as this? As if the tortoises aren't sure which scaly foot to put next. They drag themselves along, but they don't seem to be getting anywhere. Do you think they like dancing? The tortoise's tune gets slower and slower until it stops altogether, and all you can hear is the piano. The tortoises are tired out. So here's their picture of the tortoises. So we're really listening for piano and strings in this. All right, friends, so I want you to pause here, if you can. Go down and listen to the tortoises and see if this description, if you hear things happening in this description. Once you've listened through, I would like you to do some artwork where you listen to the tortoises and draw a picture of a tortoise. All right, so pause now. Good. You should have paused, done your listening for the tortoises, and next up, ooh, this is one of my absolute favorite ones. We are going to go into the aquarium. So we'll be going underwater. Before we even start, look at the picture. Can you guess what instruments we're really going to hear? What clues do you have that could help your guess? All right. Aquarium. In the aquarium, the rainbow of colors of the fish sparkle in the sun. Can you hear the sparkly sounds? There are tiny fish with shiny scales and giant fish with funny faces. The flute and all the strings play a high, soft tune for the fish as they glide through the water. The pianos are the gentle waves rippling across the water. At times, the fish stay so still that all you can hear are the waves tripping over each other. Listen carefully to the end of the music. Can you hear the tinkling sound of the glockenspiel? It is the sunlight glittering on the waves, high above the fish. All right, so time for you now to pause. Well, not yet. Don't pause yet. I want you to, in a moment when I'm done, pause this video, go down and listen to the aquarium section and see if you hear any of these fish and glittery sunlight, okay? Once you've listened through, go ahead and listen through a couple more times and draw an underwater scene. What kind of fish does this remind you of? What kind of fish would we see in your aquarium? Okay? All right. So, you should have paused and watched and drawn. And we are going to go forward to our last one for today, which is going to be called the donkeys. And this one they call it animals with long ears. Okay? So I'll let you look at the picture. And now I will do the read aloud. Animals with long ears, also known as donkeys. Hee-haw! Hee-haw! Many animals have long ears, but only one creature makes this strange sound. Do you know which animal it is? It's the donkey. The violins play the hee-haws. First they play a loud squeaky high note, then they play two long low notes. Hee-haw! 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 What a noise! What a noise! What a noise! It gets faster and faster and louder. It's not surprising the other animals run away and cover their ears. Look at that. See the other animals covering their ears? Sounds like the donkeys are too loud for them. All right, friends. So I'm going to wrap up our read aloud for today. We'll come back on Friday. I'll have 3 more animals that we will listen to and draw. And there are 3 animals that you have not done this year if this is an activity that you've already done. So, all right. So I hope you enjoy that and have fun. Have fun with your artwork. If you'd like, you can send me some of your pictures. All right, friends. I will talk to you soon.